morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of HR Voices that is hosted by BW People. And today we are joined by one of the leaders from JK organization, Mr. Prem Singh. And Mr. Prem Singh is the president and group HR for JK organization. And he's also the regional president for National HRD Network for the Northern region. So Mr. Prem has had a wide experience and exposure in the field of HR and has served organizations like Vocard, Piramal, SR Steel in different capacities, and mostly all of them being in the leadership roles. And he's an alumnus from IIT. So we'd like to welcome Mr. Prem. Welcome, Mr. Prem.
Thank you very much, Talis. It's my pleasure to be joining with you at this platform. Thank you.
So, talking about your experiences, we'll through the day, be talking about how the evolution has happened over a period of time and how the new age organizations have evolved, and what are the challenges with respect to recruitments which are there. So, I would request you, because you come from an organization that is 125 years old and has run through the generations. So, I'm sure there might be a lot of learnings that you would have had in your prior experiences as well as at JK organization. So if at all you can just share how the transition would have been in the historical perspective at the JK.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Talis. Well, JK organization has a very rich legacy, very strong heritage. It goes back to the pre-independence era, and our founding fathers were very deeply involved in the freedom struggle of the country. And over the years, in last 138 years to be very precise, the group has really evolved into a very large conglomerate, multi-business, multi-locational, global business house, and really serving almost every sector of the economy. So a lot of things have evolved, a lot of things have changed, but there is one thing which has not changed, that is the values of the organization. And values of the organization, that is caring for people, integrity, and commitment to excellence, is something which has remained as a constant guiding force for all of us. And that is something which we all really cherish. So, overall, I would say it's a journey, change with continuity, and the story goes on. Very exciting.
Absolutely. And while doing a bit of research about JK, you spoke about the core values, and I was about to ask you the same. But there is something that is very interesting at JK, that it also talks about a vision, and that is dynamic business organization and socially valued conglomerate. So in line with that, I definitely think it has evolved, and with the current change in the structures which are there, we'd like to understand that how do you see the new age organization and the evolution of the larger conglomerates who've existed for centuries now. So what is the difference between a new organization that might be a new age organization, and how the transition in the organizations have happened?
Sure. Very relevant and extremely important for us, Talis. So you used the word socially relevant, socially responsible. So just to give you a little sense, and also about modernity. Today, in all our plants, and we have 40 plus plants across the country, across the globe actually, anywhere ranging between 50% to 80% of the plant's energy requirements are met through renewable energy sources, which means we are so much more conscious about the environment. Green and clean has been a mantra at JK organization. So that's in terms of we being very environmentally conscious, and we are one of the very early movers who started publishing sustainability reports. We published that for many years. Our water consumption, our energy consumption are one of the best companies in the world. In fact, in some of the indicators, we are the leaders. With respect to social impact, well, we are in a business, but at the same time, we want to make sure and we ensure that all our businesses are conducted in a very responsible and socially very impactful manner. Wherever we are operating, we make an impact in the communities around. Just to give you a little sense, during the COVID pandemic, we contributed to the extent of 250 million rupees uh, to the communities, to the country, to the government in various forms, including also working very closely with the communities around. We impact not only the business sectors, but also the social and educational sectors. We have our schools, we have a university, we have a hospital, which are a testimony of our commitment to the society at large. In terms of modernity, digital is a in thing today, and I'm so happy to share with you that all our companies, Talis, all our large businesses are extremely focused on digital application and try and transform our businesses so that we deliver value to the customer. And in fact, some of our businesses are leaders in terms of adoption of digital technologies. In fact, that has been one reason why we were quite effective in terms of meeting our commitment to our customers, to our stakeholders during pandemic times. And digital is something which has continued our journey through into the future as well. When it comes to the technology adoption, we are leaders. Just to give you a sense, you would have heard the name Smart Tire. We were one of the first companies to bring Smart Tire in the industry. Just imagine when you drive your car on your smartphone or your smart watch, you can get a sense of the indicators like pressure, temperature of your tires. So that's the innovation we have tried to bring in. Using digital, we have also tried to transform the customer delivery, trying to meet our requirements of our customers. And this is not only for the front-ending roles, but also for the shop floor. Most of our businesses have been using Industry 4.0, connected machines, artificial intelligence, machine learning. So we have been using all these technologies in varied form, depending upon which stage of the business we are. That talks about our commitment to technology adoption. And ultimately, the key mantra is that we must use technology as a tool to create value for our stakeholders.
Talking about technology, you spoke about how the adoption of technology for the customer bases and all the stakeholders in place. So we'd also like to understand that on HR's front, what kind of interventions have been and the initiatives that have been taken at your end? And I'd also like to understand that how the adoption of technology has given uh, birth to new roles in the organizations from the HR's perspective.
Well, elaborate a little bit more about the overall landscape of technology, overall landscape of the digital impacting the overall job market. So now we understand that when we talk about technology, largely we talk about digital today. Just so you are aware, and we have all seen it, in next 2 to 3 years time, and the report says by 2025, the global digital market is likely to be $3 trillion. That's the landscape, that's the scope of digital transformation market globally. Particularly within India, it is likely to create about 65 to 70 million new jobs in the same time frame. That means by 2025. That means you will have to create so many more skilled people, all kinds of new roles, coders, IoT specialists, digital specialists, data scientists, data engineers, AI, ML, robotics specialists, mechatronics specialists, the people who write programs, people who write who do the coding, all kinds of skill that would be needed would comprise of something like 65 to 70 million additional jobs in India by 2025. That zooming in onto sectors like us, how does it impact? Well, I give you an example of how we have tried to leverage digital, trying to meet our customer requirement. Just to give you a little sense, 5 years ago, if you had a car, if you had a tire-related warranty claims to be settled, it took several days for any company, any service provider to settle your claims. Today, because of the digital application in JK Tire, we have been able to compress this time to 34 minutes. From several days to just 34 minutes. There is an algorithm, there is a code, there is a program, and the entire thing is backed up by AI and ML. And that much is the value that has been created for our customers. In terms of how we have tried to leverage the digital in our organization, well, I would like to make a very strong statement, Talis. Digital is not only about hardware and software. It's not about technology. It's not about IT and connectivity alone. It's really about the mindset and driving the whole ecosystem. And why I use the word mindset? Because if the cultural makeup or if the ecosystem, if the people quotient in the organization is not ready to embrace digital, that itself will become the first major challenge. And we have been extremely careful. Therefore, we have been extremely focused on making sure that we train all our leadership team members about digital, what digital is all about. How do you deploy digital? How do you go about making sure that the people who are using digital tools, they are able to utilize it, they are able to leverage value out of it. And therefore, skilling people, making sure that we develop the overall ecosystem, we create the right mindset, that has been a very, very important focus for us. We have tried to do that. And we have been very successful in making sure that we really develop the overall ecosystem and draw a lot of value out of it. That's number one. Number two, in order to make sure that we stay relevant, we stay at the cutting edge of the learning curve, we have utilized the services of a lot of experts in this space, a lot of consultants, people who are experts in this field, try and make sure that we get the best of their advice to make sure that we are really able to leverage the full value out of these new technologies. Finally, I would say that at the end of the day, digital is nothing but a tool. Tool is as good as how you are able to leverage, how you are able to use it. Today it's digital, tomorrow it will be something else. Therefore, one of the major areas of focus that we have ensured we keep our eyes on is to say that, look, we have to be constant learners all the time. We have to look at what's coming, what's going to create a lot more value for the organization, and very quickly learn and embrace it. At this point in time, I'm reminded of a very powerful quote by Alvin Toffler, who said the literacy in the next century will be defined by not the people who can read, write, and speak, but by the people who can unlearn, learn, and relearn. Therefore, for us, ability to unlearn something that is not working and learn something which is of utmost value at a given point of time, that is something which is very important for us. So that has been one of the key mantras we have focused.
This is an amazing line of thought that you've shared. And I was just thinking from the HR's perspective, but this is a wider thing and more globalized approach towards the job creation through technology that will happen. And apart from that, I had one more thing that in the new age organizations, the role of consultants and freelancers has become very important. They are, doing exceptionally well. So, how do how do you bring these people into the organizational culture, and how the adoption takes place? Because this is in fashion right now that
Sure.
people are doing gig works with multiple organizations at the same time. And I have just another question after this. I'll talk about little about moonlighting as well. So
Sure. Sure. So, colleagues, there are two, three things that are happening currently. Number one, particularly in the Indian context, the life expectancy has gone up. When we just got independence, I think our life expectancy, my guess is it was around 40s years. Today, our life expectancy is 70 years or 70 years plus. That means people are living that much longer. And therefore, the question is, what do you do with such a large amount of people? And we have seen in HR, in many other areas, that even after retirement, people do continue to be productive. They do continue to provide a lot of guidance, support, mentoring. And therefore, gig working becomes a natural phenomenon. My sense is, and this is based upon one report of the government, that by 2030, the gig workers in India are likely to be 23 million. Gig workers by 2030. Even as we talk today, the number of gig workers in India are estimated to be 9.5 million across the country. Now, where these people are coming from, just imagine the whole wave of e-commerce economy that got developed in a very strong manner during the last 2.5, 3 years, pandemic times. So much of focus on the e-com companies, so much of focus on the digitally enabled businesses, which banked upon a large pool of gig workers. Just to give you a very small example, today, the number of delivery boys who are employed by these the companies like Zomato, Swiggy, and what have you. One report estimated that the number of delivery boys, only the delivery boys today in India, is 5.5 lakh. That's just one small example, one small case of the entire ecosystem of e-com space. When you look at the entire e-com space, we are talking about 9.5 million people engaged in that space, and large number of those are actually coming from traditional sectors after switching jobs. A good number of them are also youngsters, and this number is only going to grow. Now, another thing which is happening is that India being a young country, our average age is 29 and a half years. There is a lot of focus on entrepreneurship. There is a lot of focus on startups. There is a lot of focus on starting your own businesses using technology, using tools, using IT tools, digital tools. That is another force which is fueling the gig economy. For a large country like us, I think it's a great news because it not only provides employment, gainful employment opportunities to the people, at the same time, it acts as a very strong fuel, very strong catalyst to the overall economy, to the overall ecosystem. At the end of the day, I think it's going to augur very well for India as an emerging economy. Not forgetting the fact that our young entrepreneurs and young graduates who are coming out of the colleges and universities, large number of them are driven by a hunger, a can-do spirit. And I think that's a great news. Backed up by high aspirations, tax savviness. Even as we talk now, India is estimated as one of the top 2 or 3 countries globally in terms of being very high with respect to the digital adoption. So that itself is a big advantage. So all these factors put together are driving this whole ecosystem of gig working. My sense is, and the report itself says, that by 2030, we would have something like 23.5 million people in the gig space. My sense is that this number will only continue to grow. It provides you a freedom, it provides you your own space, and it provides you also a flexibility to start something, do something for a few years, and then start something else. I just want to give this example. 20 years ago or 30 years ago, if you started your career as a mechanical engineer, you will retire as a mechanical engineer. Of course, growing through the hierarchy and reaching senior levels, but the core remained the same. Today, that's not the case. You start as a mechanical engineer, you specialize into data science, become a data scientist, then you get into digital, then you leave that, become a startup entrepreneur, then you leave that, get into hospitality. At the end of the day, then you realize that I want to do something different. And then you end up becoming a musician. So that's the change. So that sort of flexibility is possible largely, not only because of this, but largely because of this ecosystem which is developing, enabled by digital and fueled by gig working culture that is taking place.
Again, wonderful insights into it. Now, the next thing that we'd like to understand, that we have gone through the pandemic, and there has been a lot of change in the way we used to work and the perceptions that employees have these days, that you're forcing them back to work. It's become a challenge everywhere. So there are certain things that you like to understand, because it will never be the same workspace that it used to be earlier, that was not hybrid, and we were, in office walls, and we are building a culture. So a lot of people are interacting with each other. But when you're talking about a hybrid work space, where at times we have not met the people who have joined the organizations. So what are your suggestions to the leaders and managers to build a better hybrid workplace, and at the same time also look at strong organization culture being built out of it? So your
very interesting, Talis. And I would talk about 2 studies that we did ourselves, and something which is very interesting. One is, there has been a little overhype in terms of work from home, and I want to back it up by a study, by a real research that we did. When we were just coming out of the first wave of COVID pandemic, and we started calling the people back, in my group, there was a discussion that, look, a lot of people started saying that, are we sure that people would be willing to come back, or we should let them continue to work from home. So we said, okay, why are we making an assumption? Let's try and ask people as to what they want to do. Covering about 1,200 employees and their families, Talis, we conducted a survey asking them 3 questions. Number 1, how has been your experience during the last 1.5 to 2 months while you were working from home? Number 1. Number 2, moving forward, what would you suggest to work? Only work from home, or work from offices and your respective sites, or a hybrid? And number 3, are there any insights that you want to share with us which will be useful for us? We thought, and large number of people thought, that maximum number of people would say that we would like to work from home. Contrary to that, we had 62% people who said they would not like to work from home. They would rather prefer to work through a hybrid model, in which some of the days of the week they are working from home, and some days of the week they are working from the offices or from their sites. And we went deeper into that through some focus group discussions. And people said that, look, working from home is all fine, but beyond its limit, it becomes boring. It's not mentally healthy. It becomes extremely monotonous. There are issues around mental wellness. There are issues around missing people, missing interactions, because at the end of the day, people are social beings, and people like to interact with people. They like to be, they like to appreciate, they like to be recognized, they like to have an interaction. That's a fundamental requirement of human beings. So that was number 1. Number 2, a lot of people said during the focus group discussions that one of the things that we must ensure, even if we end up doing work from home in the future, we should not rely only on the work from home. We should provide adequate time so that people can come back, interact, meet with people, and socialize. So that was one study. Understand. So the second part was a study on the school children. So we conducted a study on the school children, the children who are in the 9th standard, 10th standard, 11th and 12th standard. The reason being that these children who are in the schools now are going to be our future employees in next few years. So we wanted to understand their mindset, their thoughts with respect to a whole lot of issues, including working from home or hybrid working. We reached out to close to 1,000 school children. What we learned through this study, pure working from home, only 8% school children said that they would like to work from home. Only 8%. Predominant large number of them, that was about 35-36%, said that we would like to have a hybrid model, some days in the office or site, some day working from home. 35-36%. Balance were all working from offices or working from sites. That means that not a large number of people, even the next gen, you can call it as Gen Alpha, even Gen Alpha is also not voting only for working from home. So the reality for us, which we understand through these studies, is large number of people are going to aspire and vote for a hybrid model. Not only work from home, but a hybrid model. That means the organization got to create lot of groundwork in terms of getting ready for this workforce. Even within this also, there was further bifurcation we did. Those children who aspire to work in the IT, digital, or ITES kind of work environment, for them, this preference for hybrid was even more. The children who wanted to work in non-IT, typically in manufacturing uh, kind of environment, for them, the preference was more for working from the offices or working from the plants, or followed by hybrid. So therefore, this distinction is also there. That tells us that going forward, I think we'll see two different kind of buckets: IT, ITES, or digital or e-com kind of a space, where I think large amount of people would be working in the hybrid mode. Manufacturing sector, well, you can't imagine manufacturing happening through virtual means. So that is another big bucket where it is going to be largely offices or manufacturing sites, followed by hybrid. So we will see these two distinct trends. Therefore, I would not like to paint the entire canvas by one brush. We got to see these through different lenses, different nuances, different trends in different kind of sectors. But one thing is for sure, the newer technologies, newer tools like digital transformation will continue to guide the journey through for many, many years to come. And I think automation is going to be the order of the day, whether you are in manufacturing or non-manufacturing. And these technologies will keep on evolving. In fact, the pace of the evolution of new technologies will become even faster, making it absolutely mandatory for people to just be at it all the time and be the continuous learners. Just to give you a little sense, based upon one report, in next 1 decade, 1 billion jobs, next 1 decade, 1 billion jobs globally are going to be impacted in some way or the other by technology. And when I say technology, it includes digital as a component of it. There are many other things which will be impacting. For example, we are talking about green technologies, clean technologies, green economy, experience economy, a lot of stuff happening around experience economy. So all of these will constitute a large chunk of jobs. And we are talking about next about 9-10 years, about 1 billion jobs. That constitutes about 25% of the entire landscape of all the jobs globally.
Thank you, sir. And the last thing that the topic speaks about is the recruitment challenges. So what we see these days is that there has been a lot of change in the kind of curriculums that have been introduced. You coming from IIT, so that is a kind of a different set, but there's so much of talent which is coming in, but somehow the academics and the industry connect has not been that good, and most of the people who are willing to look for jobs and the kind of requirements that the organizations have, so there has always been a gap between them, and that raises challenges for organizations to find the right fits and right people. And you already spoke about that we have a lot of people who are switching careers. So you might do engineering, then get into banking, then start anything else on your own. So this also imposes challenges for people that organizations, that when we are looking out for right fitments, so at times it is difficult. So I'd like to understand that at JK, not only JK, for manufacturing segments, what are the recruitment challenges? Because when you look at people who are passing out, they whatever the streams that they get into, they want to get into any job which is not on floor. It is more of technical, or maybe the AC office job kind of thing. So when you're looking at the on-ground shop floors employees who have to be highly qualified and technical, and you see a lot of movement happening from maybe mechanicals to the IT segments. So how do you look at it, and how do you take on these challenges and find a way out of it?
Sure. So you have spoken about several elements, very important elements of challenges, Thalis. So I'll deal with them one by one. One is, yes, there has been a gap. There has been a gap between industry requirements vis-a-vis academics. And that has been a story for many years. In fact, in last 2.5, 3 years, the gap has become even wider because of the pandemic. And so that's a reality. What can be done? I think it has to be addressed at both the levels. Industry and academia both have to collaborate more. I'm not suggesting that the collaboration has not happened. It has been happening, but I think the pace at which it must happen, the pace needs to be hastened up. The pace needs to be much more. The avenues of collaboration needs to be much more. And this needs to be only strengthened. That's number one. Number two, you spoke about when we recruit people, both at senior level and also at middle as well as the entry level. We do look for people with not only the basic qualification requirements and basic competencies set. Well, that's taken as given, that's a fundamental requirement. But what we also look for, and actually we have revised our competency framework recently, people who have a very high learning agility, people who can very quickly unlearn and learn and move ahead very quickly, learning agility. That's number one. Number two, people who are extremely conscious of their conduct. We look for values and ethics. That's very important for us. Third, we also look for people, and this is a part of the first one which I mentioned, who can very quickly embrace technology. For example, digital. Now, digital for us has become a fundamental requirement. So just imagine if you are trying to drive digital transformation implementation in your sales and marketing team, and if you have leaders who do not fully understand the digital, that becomes a challenge. Therefore, for us, it's extremely important that we make sure that we are staffing all our senior leadership roles with those requisites. So that then ensures that the ecosystem is developing in a very nice and sound manner. Third point, and this is again something which is important. The challenge of recruiting in last 2.5 years, and I think there have been a lot of learnings. Yes, we have faced a lot of challenges. In fact, entire industry did face in terms of how do you recruit, and because in a traditional school of thought, you got to meet with the candidate in person, interview the person, then you discuss again, make an offer, negotiate, etc. But I think during the pandemic time, that would not have been possible. And therefore, we leveraged technology. We conducted a lot of these meetings virtually, all kinds of discussions virtually, interactions, interviews, compensation discussions, etc. Everything. Even onboarding was also done in a virtual manner using technology. And well, was it same as human interaction? Answer is no. but it was a good way of navigating your way through and not get stuck up because you can't move. So that was a good, pragmatic, effective solution, a good way out in the given circumstances. We recruited a lot of leaders during pandemic times using the virtual platforms, onboarded a lot of them, and in a very effective manner. In fact, our experience has been quite good. But is it something which you would recommend going forward? I would say partly, not fully. You might want to use virtual meeting or virtual interactions to shortlist. Let's say you have 10 candidates, you interview 10 candidates, out of which you shortlist 3 or 4. But finally, I think I would recommend that the final interaction must be happening in person. Therefore, learning from the past is the insights, the experience of the pandemic times using technology. We have decided to use it to our advantage to the extent that it doesn't compromise on the final quality of the final outcome. So that's my take on this.
Thank you, Mr. Prem. Thanks for your time today. And we had a lot of learning and a different perspective. When I started the interview, I thought we'll talk about on a different level, but you spoke about the global and the holistic approach and the challenges and the opportunities that things have been created over a period of time. It was wonderful hearing from you, and hope our audience also enjoy that and get a lot of learning from it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Talis. It was my pleasure, and I hope this will be useful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.